Hey guys, welcome to another Reaper blog tutorial. Today I have another sort of cheesy synthwave track, just a song demo, just something to play around with different synths and techniques, and just kind of get into the groove of making music again. There are three things in here that I want to show you. The first one is how to generate sweep sounds using UVI Sweepmachine. The second thing is an effect that I used on some clap samples to create a quarter note delay that is filtered and goes further to mono as the sound decays. I thought that was pretty interesting. And the third one is how to trigger reversed samples using the built-in Reaper sampler. So let's get started by just playing the song. Okay, so it's not a great song or anything. I'll probably change the chords, but I like the sounds that are in it. And yeah, so it's all just for fun anyways. So I don't know if you noticed it, but there's this part here, it's called part 7 in this because it's the 7th layer of the multi-timbral instrument. So it's just a MIDI item that I have in the track. What it's actually triggering is this track here, UVI Workstation. And so one of my instruments I have loaded in here is Sweepmachine. And this is often on sale for like $20 or something like that. And all it does is just swelling or hit sort of white noise effects. So here's how this one sounds. So it's a 2-bar sweep in and out. There's sweep control with automatic in and out fades, or you can use the mod wheel and perform in that sweep. There's an adjustable curve tension here. I like something a little bit in the towards the linear side, but a little bit, that sort of shape. Slow start and slow ramp down. But this can be, there's a lot of different options in this plugin. I think it gets overlooked, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Different noise shapes. There's a sub generator. There's a metal sort of resonance kind of thing, and there's a lot of different options here. I'm not sure if these are different sort of comb filter effects or if they're impulse responses, but it can really change the sound, and it's a really interesting effect that I haven't seen. I don't know how to get that same effect anywhere else. That's one of the reasons I like it. There's an LFO, there are 3 effects, and then you can still use all the effects that are built into UVI Workstation to add more interesting things to it. So there's there's all these effects built into UVI Workstation. This is the setting that I used for this song. I'll just play that section again where you'll hear it. So it just swells up. The decay kind of gets hidden by the crash cymbal, but yeah. So it takes 2 bars for it to swell up, and then it's going to decay for another 2 bars, just kind of in the background. So that is the blue noise shape. Here's a white, and yeah, we'll just see how that is. We can drag this slider to make the sweep longer or shorter. I think it does depend on how long the MIDI note is. So let's leave it on 2. I can add in a sub noise, and that's going to, the note of the sub is going to be dependent on the note in the keyboard. You can just actually solo that. Turned off all these effects. So sort of like wind noise or rumble or something like that. I don't think I need it for this. But yeah, there's different types of noise. We just have different frequency responses. There's sample and hold. Kind of like a bit crushed effect. So I think I had it on blue, and then let's go through some of these different metal options. I think this is an impulse response that you're blending in along with another filter. So that's copper with a bandpass filter, and these filters are also affected by the sweep control. There's iron. There's zinc. And cobalt. I'm just going to go through a few of them. Yeah, just one more at random. It's a really interesting effect to have those. Here's the LFO. Pretty cool stuff. That is a virtual instrument that creates sweeps, and it's great for this style of music. But you can kind of fit it into anything, really. And just if you're curious, I'm using some other stuff from Digital Synsations for the rest of the instruments. All the synths are from the Digital Synsations pack. So that's the UVI Workstation. That's the first thing I want to show you. The second one was in this section of the song. Pay attention to the claps and the decay of the claps. Okay, let me solo those. So those claps are going into a reverb. I use Valhalla Vintage Verb with the nonlinear, sort of gated reverb sort of sound. And the only thing I have on this track is ReaDelay. And I used ReaDelay because, I don't know, everyone has ReaDelay, so it's just easier to demonstrate, I guess. And I didn't need any like fancy stuff. This is a plugin that doesn't really have a lot of character, but it's pretty easy to set up and do fairly specific things. So here's this clap sound without anything on it other than the reverb. And I'll actually mute the reverb. So it kind of has some sort of echo on it already, but it just wasn't quite strong enough. So what I did was, starting with tap number 1, I did 2 eighth notes, so 1 quarter note. I guess I should say that I did start with trying to do this all with 1 tap and setting the feedback, but it didn't quite have the right sort of curve to the decays, and I wanted more and more filtering, and I wanted the width to change. I decided to use 3 taps instead. So I got the first one at 2 eighth notes, doing a bit of filtering on the highs and the lows in the built-in filter, and I'm setting the stereo width to 50. Because this is directly on the clap track, not in parallel, I'm using the wet and dry mix. Got this set to -10, which that's where I thought it sounded right in the mix. But because we're hearing the first original sound, I'm not doing a 1 delay with full width. I'm narrowing it right from the start. So the next one is tap 2, and I've got 4 eighth notes. Again, no feedback, and I'm just doing a little slightly steeper on that filter, bring it in another like 10% or so. And I'm setting the stereo width to 0.25. So it's a quarter of the original width, getting pretty mono now. I've also adjusted the volume to -12. So the first one was 0, then -12. Then the next one is 6 eighth notes, and the steepest or the narrowest filter all the way at -18 and 0 stereo width. Here's how it sounds. And I'll bring it up in volume. So -10 sounded about right in the mix. And with drum verb, here we go. So I thought that was a pretty cool effect, and I just saved it as a preset so you can use it again later. Now the next thing I want to show you is in this section. And that's this snare. It's actually the same snare that's used in the Kontakt instrument, snare 2, which sounds like this. So I grabbed it from the sample library in the Kontakt source folder. Snare 2. Let's just do this from scratch. So I'm going to put in a track, and I'll import this in. Should really be using my mouse, not my trackpad. So I've got that dropped in. I'm going to extend this to be a full quarter note and make sure that looping is turned off. And I'm going to right-click Item Settings, Reverse Active Take. Okay, and then because we want this to go into a sampler, it needs to be committed to a new file. So I'm just going to run the glue action on it. which is here. So this is a new file copied into my project folder. Now we can insert it into ReaSamplomatic 5000. And there's a really good shortcut for doing that. In the action list, we're looking for RS5K sampler. These are actions from MPL. We're looking for this one. Add or replace source of selected items for RS5K instance on its track. So I'm going to run that, close. And so that's replaced this audio item with a MIDI note and inserted our ReaSamplomatic 5000 and imported the sound. That's a big time saver. And then the next thing is just placing it in the track. And by the way, that will work if you have all of those samples laid out. I could probably do this with the ghost kick, actually. But for now, I'm just gonna put these in place. I put them a quarter note before I need them to trigger because they're reversed. So just placing them like this, just copying them like that. Then it takes a little bit of trial and error just to get them aligned right. So let me look in, I'll show you in the original one I did. So I just nudged the position of this slightly, just slightly off the grid. And you just play around with that because every snare sound is going to be a little bit different when you reverse it. So just to get the timing right, you just nudge that MIDI note. And you want to do that before you duplicate them all. So yeah, so that's how you do that. And when it's triggering it, along with the MIDI, it sounds like this. And I should probably send that into the drum reverb as well. And so that just adds in a little bit of extra interest in there. It kind of makes that snare have a lot more weight, like that drumstick is tearing through the air. And yeah, I don't know. It's a neat effect. I like to do that, but not overdo it by having it all over the production. You just want to do it in like one section and have it sound cool for that one section. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found these tips and tricks useful and you can apply them to your own productions. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Join our Facebook group, Reaper Blog Community, and support the Reaper Blog through Patreon. And visit reaperblog.net for a lot more tutorials. See ya!